Imagine a book so full of football magic that it takes you on a journey through the greatest moments the game has ever seen and gives you the top 100 record-breaking football moments of all time. Well, Football for Kids listeners, I've got you covered. This year's Guinness World Records Football Edition 2026 is packed with unstoppable goals, mind-blowing skills and record-breaking legends. You'll travel through time on the World Cup timeline, flick and trick your way through the freestyle challenge with world champion Isabel Wilkins, and go on the touchline with the likes of Pep Guardiola, Carlo Ancelotti and Serena Wiegmann. If you're football crazy, this is a must-have. Get your Guinness World Records Football Edition 2026 book today via the link in the episode description. Who is your favourite darts player? If you said Luke Littler, trust me, you would not be alone. And guess what? Target Darts have been with Luke right from the very beginning. Before he was a world champion, Luke was just like you, a kid who loved throwing darts and having fun. And Target were there from day one, helping him on his journey all the way to the top. Now you can play like Luke too. Target has loads of awesome Luke Littler gear, from the Nuke magnetic dartboard that's perfect for your first throws, to the Littler Generation 1, the actual darts used to win the 2025 World Championships. And if you want to make your game even cooler, check out Target's Omni Auto scoring system. It does all the scoring for you, so you can just focus on throwing and having fun. And who knows, maybe one day you'll be the next world champion. Head to www.target-darts.co.uk to find out more. Welcome to the Football for Kids podcast with me, Darren Rees, and welcome to this very special Super Week. This Super Week is brought to you by the Guinness World Records Football Edition 2026, which you can buy via the link in this episode's description. In this episode, we're going to be talking about a player who was knocking about a long time ago. A player who played professional football all the way up to 50 years old. The Wizard of the Dribble. The first ever Ballon d'Or winner. The Blackpool and Stoke sensation. Of course, in this episode, we're going to be talking about Sir Stanley Matthews. This is a two-parter because this man is a proper legend. And of course, this is part one. Before we get into this episode properly, a massive shout out to everybody who's been checking out my new show, Darts for Kids, where you can listen and learn about the life story and the journey of the likes of Luke Littler, Luke Humphreys, learn all about that famous number 180, and everything else to do with that wonderful sport of darts. One quick shout out before we get going, and that is a massive shout out to Manchester City fans, Duke and Bryn. I know that you are huge fans of the show, you love your football. Thank you so much for being listeners of the podcast, and I hope that this shout makes your day. Right then, picture this. It's the 1st of February 1915. Yes, 1915. Before televisions, well, kind of. Before the internet, before anyone had even dreamed up VAR, it was a time when footballs were made of leather and goalkeepers didn't even wear gloves. And on a chilly winter's day, a baby was born who would go on to be known as Sir Stanley Matthews, the first ever winner of the Ballon d'Or, and quite possibly the fittest man to lace up a pair of boots. Now, Stanley didn't come from a family of footballers. Oh no. His dad was Jack Matthews, a professional boxer, known around town back in the day as the Fighting Barber of Hanley. Imagine that for a job title. Snip snip with one hand and jab jab with the other. Jack was as tough as old boots, and he wanted his son to be just as disciplined. From the moment little Stanley could stand, Jack had him training, skipping, stretching, deep breathing, and even when it was so cold that icicles were hanging off the washing line while other kids were snuggled up inside, Stanley was out in the garden, puffing his way through exercises, probably wondering why his dad thought star jumps were much more fun than toast. But here's the thing, that tough start built the foundation for everything that came next. Stanley didn't just learn to play football, he learned to live like an athlete long before it was fashionable. In those days, lots of people smoked. Stanley didn't. In those days, lots of people drank alcohol. Stanley certainly didn't. And get this, he even fasted on certain days and drank only carrot juice on Thursdays. Can you imagine that? Would you like a lemonade, Stan? No thanks, I'm on my Thursday carrots. It sounds funny now, but that self-control and discipline turned him into a machine. Lean, lightning fast, and able to play top-level football into his 50s. 50s! Most players today are done by their mid-30s, but Sir Stanley was still gliding down the wing when men his age were taking up gardening. Stanley Matthews wasn't just good at football though. He was ridiculous, the sort of player who made other kids' jaws drop and teachers forget to blow the whistle. When he was still at school, he once scored 12 goals in a single match. Yes, you heard me right, 12 goals. That's not football, that's daylight robbery. Imagine being the poor goalkeeper that day. You just want to go home and try a different sport, maybe darts. By the time he was 15 years old though, young Stanley decided it was time for a change. He finished school, he packed up his pencils and he joined his local club, Stoke City. However, he didn't join his local club as a player, nope, as an office boy. He earned £1 a week, delivering letters, cleaning boots and making tea for men twice his size. But every evening, when the office emptied, that is when the real magic began. Stanley would pull on those boots and play for the reserves, and everyone watching him could tell that there was something different about him, something special. Fast forward just a couple of years, and on his 17th birthday, he was handed his first professional contract. £5 a week, the maximum wage for a footballer back then, and he made his first debut for Stoke in March 1932. And from that moment he touched the ball, he could feel it. The electricity, the excitement, that little whisper from the football god saying, "Watch this lad." He became a regular almost instantly, dazzling defenders with his twists and his turns. He helped Stoke City win the second division title in 1933, sending them flying into the top flight. Not bad for a teenager who just swapped office work for wing play. And then came 1934. Stanley was just 19 years old, barely old enough to order a pint when he pulled on the England shirt for the first time ever. And because he was Stanley Matthews, he didn't just play well, he scored a goal in a 4-0 win over Wales. Talk about that for a dream debut. That moment lit the spark for something extraordinary. An international career that would last 23 years. Over 2 decades of dazzling crowds, twisting defenders into knots and proving that he was brilliant. By the early 1930s, young Stanley Matthews wasn't just playing football, he was performing it. The crowds at Stoke City began to realise how special he was. He wasn't like the others. He didn't just run past defenders, he hypnotised them. The newspapers started whispering his name, calling him a superstar, a rising star, and everything which had a star in it. And eventually, everyone wanted to see this skinny winger who could turn a defender inside out with one twitch of his hips. And then came the move, the one which would make him famous forever. Stanley Matthews would glide towards a fullback, body swaying one way, legs teasing the ball the other, before he'd dart down the outside, leaving an opponent spinning like a revolving door. The crowd would gasp and then laugh because it seemed almost unfair what he was doing to defenders. It was this very move that earned him the nickname, and that nickname was the Wizard of the Dribble. When journalists asked how he did it, Stanley Matthews simply shrugged and said, "Don't ask me how I do it, it just comes out of me under pressure." He was modest to the bone, no ego, no boasting, just a man letting his magic do the talking. People flocked to see him, quite literally. Reporters said that up to 10,000 extra fans would turn up to games just to watch him play. Imagine that. Not to see the scoreline, not for a trophy, simply for the thrill of watching Stanley Matthews leave yet another defender wondering where he is and where the ball has gone. But life wasn't all easy for the Wizard. He wasn't the biggest of players, 5'9", lean as a greyhound. He was built for speed and not strength, and some of the old school football men didn't like that. They said that he didn't have a big match temperament. You can almost picture them huffing in their overcoats, muttering into pipes, while Stan glided past defenders like a ghost. If you ask me, they were probably jealous. In January 1937 was one of the most remarkable games of the era. Stoke City thrashed West Bromwich Albion 10-3, and Matthews was at the heart of it all, setting up 6 goals with those mesmerising runs and inch-perfect passes. 6 assists. The defenders probably woke up in the night weeks later and all they could see was Sir Stanley Matthews. By the late 1930s, there was no debate. Stanley Matthews wasn't just one of England's best, he was one of the best in the world, across all countries, in every corner of the globe. And then came Berlin 1938, a tense symbolic match against Germany, just before the outbreak of World War II. Matthews did what he did best. He spoke through football. He tore the German defence apart, scored in a 6-3 win and silenced the hostile crowd that had come to give England a hard time. It was bravery, beauty and brilliance all rolled into one pair of football boots, Sir Stanley Matthews football boots. That night in Berlin, it sealed it. Stanley Matthews wasn't just a footballer anymore, he was a symbol of quiet defiance, of skill over arrogance and grace under pressure. Because that was the magic of the wizard of the dribble, Stanley Matthews. Now that brings this part to an end. Join me next time as we discover the rest of his incredible journey. And remember, if you know someone who loves football just as much as you do, then please tell them about the Football for Kids podcast. And whether you're playing football soon, watching it on the telly or pitch side, I hope that you enjoy the game. See you next time. This Christmas, something magical has arrived for Football for Kids listeners all around the world. For the very first time ever, the Football Time Machine limited edition collector's frame is here. Each one is signed and numbered by me, Darren Rees, and only 250 of them will ever exist. Inside every frame is a golden QR code, and that is where the magic begins. That golden QR code unlocks 3 special things. The first and only video podcast I've ever made, a kids versus adults play along with 3 exclusive games that you can play at home, and a brand new audio story, Teddy and the Tale of the Football Time Machine. The frame will look incredible wherever you listen to the podcast in your home. There are only 250 of these special Christmas releases that will ever make it out. So if you want to own a piece of Football for Kids history and give a lucky listener a very special present, please email darren@footballforkidspodcast.com and you will receive an email instantly telling you how you can get your hands on one. The Football Time Machine. Once they're gone, they are gone. Oh, and remember, you can get a copy of the Guinness World Records Football Edition 2026 via the link in the episode description.
Is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.